Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber kind of make a statement or a question, which I will flip in here for you guys, and he's essentially saying, hey, I think that you're anti-spotter. You know, it's better on a dumbbell chest press if you have a spotter help you get it into position so you don't waste energy or get fatigued and lose reps from getting the dumbbells into position. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Am I anti-spotter on an exercise that shouldn't require a spotter other than the ego lift? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if someone wants to use a spotter, to have a spotter for safety, that's fine. But dumbbell chest press should be no more difficult to get into position and do safely than it is to do a standing barbell curl. I want guys to think about that for a minute. If you struggle to get the dumbbells into position, you're not performing the exercise correctly, you're not performing it safely, and it shouldn't affect your ability to do reps at all. You are basically ego lifting. And as I try to tell people all the time, we are in the gym to build strength, to build muscle, not to demonstrate strength and show off. If you're in the gym to show off, don't be surprised when you get less results or you get hurt. And what do I mean by that? Well, think about it. The only safe way to perform a dumbbell chest press is with your hands pronated in, right? So that you're pressing down here. Same, just like when you press with a barbell, you do not ever let the bar drift above the nipple line, right? The bar never drifts above the nipple line, and if it does, you are putting your shoulders into a position, a risky position that could damage your rotator cuffs. So anyone who knows how to bench press correctly and safely doesn't let the bar drift above that. Well, shouldn't your hands kind of represent that when you do a dumbbell press? Think about that for a minute. If your hands are drifting above your nipple line and you're all the way out here flared at the bottom, you are compromising your shoulder joints and your rotator cuffs. You keep doing that, you will get hurt. Or in the case of you guys saw with whatever his name is, Devin Physique, notice that he ripped his pec. And I explained in that video in detail why he ripped his pec. It's pretty obvious to anyone who's watching what happened. Using bad technique, bad form, and ego lifting. He went to lift a weight that he is not physically capable of doing even a single rep with. That weight was probably 20%, 30% higher than he should have ever touched. All right, he had no business touching that. And he had a spotter help him get it into position. Well, if your hands are down here where they're supposed to be, because again, look at the bar path. If you're up here, look at the bar path above the nipple line. Don't start crying when you rip a pec or damage a shoulder, because you know that's going to happen if you do that long enough. It's almost guaranteed if you do it for enough years. Down here, pronated in, look at where they're at. I'm down here. Well, think about that for a minute. You guys have watched Big J put stuff into position, people who watch YouTube fitness. What's to stop you from just sitting down on a bench with them, leaning back and just kicking them into position? Nothing at all. You can get all the way to the bottom of the range of motion. And guys are like, well, wasting energy. How are you wasting energy sitting down on a bench and laying back with a little extra weight sitting in your lap? You're not wasting energy. Look what muscles are used to put those into position if you just kick them into position with your knees a little bit. Your thighs, your hips. Since when has moving less than half of what you could squat for 10 reps with your thighs made you lose strength in your chest and your triceps? When has this ever happened? I want people to stop and think that through. When has this ever happened? You're not using your pecs, your delts, or your triceps at all. Those are the muscles you're working on these chest presses. So how is this happening? How are you actually fatiguing anything related to the exercise? None. Not at all. The guys are like, well, I struggle to get them into position. Well, that's because you're not performing the exercise correctly or safely, because you shouldn't have them way up high on your chest. And guys are doing that, and they're having to use spotters to do that to get them into position because they're performing the exercise incorrectly. They're skipping the bottom of the range of motion. But it's a metabolic fatigue exercise. You shouldn't be doing really low reps or singles with it. That's what heavy barbell work is for. You shouldn't be performing an exercise that has a higher risk component like that with maxes. It's not a show-off exercise. The dumbbell chest press is a muscle building exercise. It induces fatigue in those muscles generally through doing slightly higher reps. I probably wouldn't go under about 5 reps. 5 reps would probably be the minimum on that exercise I would do, and that might be a little on the low end for it. Just all things considered. It's probably one of those exercises you're better off keeping up somewhere between 8 and 15 reps, right? That's just the nature of the exercise. But it's a great muscle builder in that rep range, but it's not something you want to do with maxes. The guys want to come in and they show off, they skip the bottom of the exercise because they're not actually strong enough to do their 8 rep max for a single out of the bottom the way they're doing it up here with the partials. But if you check your ego at the door, you put the dumbbells into the correct position, it shouldn't be a problem. And again, they're struggling to get it in position because they're bringing it way up here. You know, they're trying to lay down and bring it way up here, and then they're doing partials because they can't bring it all the way down because the things are almost touching their neck and it's stretching their chest too much. It hurts, it's painful, it hurts their shoulders because they're using the incorrect bar path. And that's really sad because they can't do the full range of motion without hurting themselves, so they have spotters help them get it into position, get it started, everything else. They're losing the number one benefit of the chest press. The chest press is with dumbbells. The benefit of it is that it allows you to get a deeper stretch than you can get on a barbell. That allows you to get a stretch reflex out of your chest that you can't always achieve with a barbell. And in some cases, not every case, but in some cases, that can facilitate extra muscle growth. There's a reason the dumbbell chest press is a popular accessory exercise, not just for bodybuilders, but for powerlifters. Some powerlifters, because their chest is so big, they struggle to get the bar deep enough with a barbell to build their pecs as much as they might want. Because you have to remember, bigger pecs, even for a powerlifter's bench press, help you get the weight started faster out of the bottom. So by being able to train that deeper range of motion, they're kind of hitting angles and fibers in their chest that they might not otherwise get. Same reason bodybuilders do it, right? To get that deep stretch, that stretch reflex, so that you can build bigger chest. Well, that will help a powerlifter also. So it's popular for that reason. But guys who are doing it the other way, they're ego lifting. They're trying to lift dumbbells that they have no business trying to lift, that they're not strong enough to lift. So they need to have a spotter do it. But truth be told, the dumbbell chest press is an exercise that you should be able to do 100% safely without using a spotter at all. The problem is that people are not checking their ego at the door. They're treating it like an ego lift instead of a muscle building lift. They're treating it as if it's something they need to show off on and be impressed with their numbers on, rather than saying, hey, can I build my chest with this? And I'm not saying you shouldn't be using moderately heavy weight, because a 10 rep max on any exercise is going to be a heavy weight for you. That's going to be moderately heavy. The most you could squeeze out with good form is 10 reps. That's not a particularly light weight, not relative to your strength levels, all right? But they're treating it like it's some sort of ego lift. They want to show off. They want to use bigger dumbbells than someone else. And again, where you're doing a finesse movement like that, that's stupid. All right, you want to lift big, heavy weights, stick to the big barbell movements. That's what they're for. That's what they're amazing at. But this, it's all ego lifting. And again, let me show you guys, if you think about it, you take whatever size dumbbells you have, you stand up with them, put them in front of your knees and sit down on the bench, and then kick them into position down here. They move less than a foot, and then they're down here. And I would tell someone, if you can't kick them down here all the way to the bottom and hold them there while you get it all into position and get set up and get tight, and then press them from a dead stop at the stretch at the bottom, you're not strong enough to lift that weight. You have no business touching it. You have no business touching that weight if you can't do that. You are ego lifting. You are not lifting to build size or strength that way. And there's an enormous difference between the two. And if you're going to choose to ego lift and you're going to do partials and you're going to kick, instead of kick them into position in the right bar path and be strong enough to press those from a dead stock, and let's be honest, guys, any exercise that you can do 10 reps with a given weight, you damn well better be able to pause with that weight at the very bottom of the range of motion for 5 or 6 seconds if you had to before you start a set. If you can't, you're doing something to cheat that weight up. You're doing something to cheat the weight. And I don't care what the exercise is. Any exercise you can do 8 to 10 reps with on a given weight, you should be able to just hold that weight at the bottom indefinitely and just be able to move it like it's nothing on the first rep. And so again, that's a dead giveaway when you look at an exercise like that. If you're using more weight than you're really capable of lifting, if you can't do that and hold it down there like that, you're using a technique to cheat somehow. And in the case of the way a lot of guys do it, they're skipping the bottom 6 or 8 inches of the range of motion. And then they wonder why they don't build any chest at all until they go on drugs. You know, and it's the drugs that are building their chest, not that exercise at that point. That exercise isn't contributing as much as they think it is. But that's an exercise that you should be able to build a fantastic chest on. I don't care what your genetics are, just because of the ability to do a stretch reflex and an overload and do a lot of metabolic work. Like anybody should be able to build a big chest on chest presses like that with dumbbells, at least within your genetic range. But yeah, and the guys who aren't, that's exactly why, because they're in there treating it like an ego lift. And like I said, if you do it correctly, the dumbbells can't hit you in the face, because if you're down here in the right position, it's never over your face. And if they start to fail, you just drop them down. They drop down right past your hips onto the floor. So if you feel that you need a spotter to do more reps on that exercise, it's your ego. You're cheating. You're not performing it correctly. You're probably not doing the full range of motion, or you're using a heavier weight than you're actually capable of using. And having a spotter touch it ever at the bottom is cheating you with a stretch reflex. It's cheating you with a stretch reflex, one of the most important growth potential stimulators out of that exercise. So, am I anti-spotter on this exercise? Yeah, a little bit. Just like I'm anti-spotter for people doing barbell curls. I mean, what the fuck, guys? Come on. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.